BTVI. But now it's time to move on, and let's talk about an interesting report again which has been published by Apurva the Senior Analyst, Institutional Equities, HDFC Securities, and this is on IT sector. Apurva, good morning and welcome to the show. Let's talk about what are the conclusions of the report, and one question which I want to ask you, because I was looking at the multiples again, and these multiples are looking quite interesting again, and let's bring first the multiples here on the screen. Now, Tier 1, Tier 2, again, there has been a good comparison, again, as you've talked about. Tier 1 IT stocks, again, the P is roughly around 14 times FY20. Mid-cap IT stocks, FY20 P is around 13.4 times, which means either you are lower or at par with the larger cap IT stocks. Global IT peers, FY20 P is 14 times, which means our IT stocks are not expensive, but the mid-cap IT stocks which are not looking expensive at all. So that's a sort of interesting sort of a multiple take here. So Apurva, what it tells and what your report is bringing out?
Yeah, so I mean, we are calling this, the theme that we have kept is anti-fragile. Let me first apologize for my sore throat. But what we're really trying to get into is the fact that Indian IT has withstood the large technology shift that has happened, which, has in a way cannibalized its own revenue stream. Despite that fact, they've been able to scale digital in a very, very impressive way. And gain market share even within the digital space. So I think there are two very key features if you look at in terms of how the entire landscape has moved. So one, gaining share within digital, and also having a relatively lower loss within the legacy part of the business. So I think these two things are completely standing out. So what we've done basically essentially, we've met a whole host of experts very recently. So this was a cross-section of people across product companies, across competitors of Indian IT companies, some clients of Indian IT companies, as well as some consultants. The sense that we're getting is that the overall demand environment is very strong. So if you look at a couple of lead indicators, whether it is contracting trends or whether in terms of hiring, all of this is pretty much accelerating, which augurs pretty well. So the demand environment is probably looking as robust as what it was, probably the best that it was in the last 3 to 4 years.
Right. So Apurva, if you're saying the demand trends actually is getting stronger, it's looking better. Now the question here is, and I've also observed again, you actually are saying that again the tax reforms have led the uptick again this year, and also the large accounts actually are showing much higher acceleration in terms of order activity. So again, that also can bodes well for the large cap IT companies. Help me understand the trends again for the mid cap IT as a pack and also large cap IT as a pack. And now if we want to differentiate, if we want to pick out stocks in terms of trends for investment again for the viewers, how that is shaping up?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned, demand environment is pretty healthy. So if you look at some of the key trends, what's happening is that the process of deal sourcing is changing. So which was more RFP led is moving away from that and getting into more sole source than POC driven sales. And what that does is you're actually selling into non-CIOs, and it increases the number of touch points for an IT services company. This works very well for some of the mid-cap IT companies because you have more selling points within a particular enterprise. So that's one very clear trend which is emerging. In terms of technology, I think larger spend continue to be around cloud and automation. So while they've shrunk the overall deal size, but I think there are newer opportunities that have come up because of that. But the third part is that the perception is very clearly established that if you're looking at scale and if you're looking at pricing, it's very difficult to actually compete with the Indian IT companies. So the likes of an Accenture or Cognizant or for that matter the Capgeminis of the world, it's a lot difficult for them to compete, especially on the pricing aspects. I think that continues to be a very strong USP for the Indian IT companies. In terms of trends, large cap, mid cap, what you're asking. So look, mid caps should be growing faster overall. There are a few reasons for that. One, the scale at which they operate is benefiting them. Some of these companies are at a good tipping point in terms of the scale at which they are currently in, which means they're able to participate in larger deals as well as have disproportionate share within the digital side business. So I think that is looking good. The other trend which is also emerging, which is both across large cap as well as mid cap IT companies, is the fact that the deal sizes within digital is going up.
Right, Apurva, let me interrupt you. The deal size is going up. It's looking strong. My two questions again. One again, I won't ask you about TCS again because it's again the favorite of everybody again because of the sheer performance there. But your topics include L&T Infotech, L&T Tech, Zensar and Majesco. Give me a sort of rationale for it. And number two, revenue per employee, how this metric is important and if there is any sort of outperformance on this metric again among these four companies.
Yeah, so revenue per employee is I think one metric which we'll have to track a lot more going forward because of the non-linearity coming in between the revenue and headcount growth. So I think that's going to switch off. So if you look at how that has been trending, it's been moving at about 1.5 times. So for every 10% growth in headcount, your revenue has been growing about 15%. That's how the trend has been in the last 2 years and last 5 years. Right, so within these companies, what we like the fact that, so if I have to talk first about L&T Infotech and L&T Tech, the fact that they've got very strong marquee accounts, okay, cross-selling into them becomes a lot easier, in terms of versus winning larger logos, which is a lot bigger a challenge for them. So if you see the kind of vertical diversification, especially in the case of L&T Tech, I think that's again commendable. So you're looking also at favorable delivery mix. They have a much higher offshore mix versus peers. And there is a lot more stability within the large accounts. The top account concentration or the large account concentration as a pack is also a lot lower. So that's something which very clearly stands out in the case of both L&T Tech as well as L&T Infotech. If I have to talk about Zensar, look, companies is transforming itself completely, moving completely into a POC-led sales model. There's a recovery in their cloud and infrastructure business. If you just look at the deal wins within Zensar, and if you compare that to the size of their current operations, I think that's tremendous. So I think the key for Zensar will be execution from here on. The deal wins have been probably the strongest ever. So that's another thing which is working out very well for TCS across the board. So whether it is a larger ones like a TCS or Infosys, or the mid-sized one, I think the deal wins in the recent quarters are probably are at peak levels. So I think it's a matter of time, and once they get into the execution phase, is when you start seeing a reflection of that into numbers. Quickly on Majesco, look, we've liked the stock, very, very highly rated product portfolio. The IBM Alliance benefit is a lot. And the overall deal wins also continue to improving, and the mix also is improving with cloud.
Sure.
So, largely these four would be our topics from mid and small cap.
Sure. Apurva, I would have liked to actually continue a conversation, but we are totally out of time. So thanks a lot, Apurva, for coming on the show and sharing your insights. Let me reiterate for our viewers that the top